A young mom begged for diapers. Would a store worker risk her job to help? Find out on Graceful Valor Stories. She was shaking at the counter, a young mom clutching her crying baby and $11 in change. The diapers cost $20, no coupons, no help, just pleading eyes. Norah looked around, then quietly typed in her employee discount. "You're good," she whispered. An hour later, she was fired. But when the black SUV pulled up outside, her whole world shifted. If stories like this matter to you, hit that like button and subscribe. Norah Westfield never minded the late shifts. The store quieted down after 8 p.m. and she liked that. Shelves didn't talk back. The hum of the old ceiling fan in aisle 4 was almost comforting. She'd worked at Evergrow Market for nearly 3 years, a modest chain in the South known more for its faded signage than for competitive prices. At 26, Norah wasn't where she wanted to be in life, but she wasn't ashamed of where she was either. After her parents died in a traffic accident when she was 17, she'd moved in with her Aunt Millie, a tough but kind woman who believed in doing right, even when no one's watching. It was Aunt Millie who taught her how to stretch a dollar, how to be patient with people, and how to spot the difference between someone scamming you and someone just having a rough week. Norah kept a little folded paper in her apron pocket, a list of regular customers and their preferences. Mr. Leary liked the Wednesday paper with his instant coffee. Miss Doy always checked expiration dates twice, and the Peterson twins, they'd cry if you forgot the free lollipop at checkout. It wasn't in the job description, but neither was caring, and Norah cared. She lived in a modest apartment above a laundromat 3 blocks from the store. Every other weekend, she babysat her neighbor's daughter for free. She didn't make much, but she put away what she could in a rusted tin marked nursing school. That dream felt distant lately, but Norah never stopped folding bills into that box because someday, she told herself, things would change, and even if they didn't, she could still be proud of who she was. She just didn't know that tonight, the world was about to test that pride in a way she never expected. Why did a simple act of kindness lead to her firing? Stay tuned on Graceful Valor Stories. The shift had barely started when Tina Gresham walked in, a tall, pressed blazer, clipboard in hand, the kind of woman who wore her authority like a weapon. She wasn't the store owner, just a regional supervisor sent from corporate, but the way she moved through the aisles, you'd think she owned the entire block. Norah had met her once briefly during a staff meeting 2 weeks ago. That was the day Tina changed everything. No more employee discounts unless pre-authorized, no helping customers outside the system, no store credit, no layaway, no handwritten notes on receipts. "You're not here to make friends," Tina had said, her voice flat. "You're here to protect profit." Evergrow used to feel like a small-town store, the kind that knew your birthday and asked about your aunt's surgery, but now it felt colder, the kind of place where policies mattered more than people. Tina spent most of the evening in the back office reviewing camera feeds and payroll records, but everyone knew she was watching. Even when you couldn't see her, you felt her. That night, she came out once, just long enough to remind Norah, "You're on final notice for registered discrepancies last quarter. Any mistake this month, and we'll have to re-evaluate your employment." Norah had nodded. She hadn't made a mistake, but she knew it wouldn't take much. It was just after 9:30 p.m. when the bell above the front door jingled. Norah glanced up from the register. A young woman stepped in, soaked from the rain, a hood pulled tightly around her face. In one arm, she carried a toddler wrapped in a blanket, cheeks red from crying. The child hiccuped quietly, too tired to fuss anymore. The woman didn't browse. She moved straight to aisle 6 where the diapers were shelved. Norah watched her from a distance. She saw the way the woman stared at the prices, hesitating. Her free hand gripped a small wallet like it held her last thread of pride. After a few seconds, she picked the store brand diapers, the cheapest, and walked slowly toward the front. When she reached the counter, her voice was barely above a whisper. I only have $11 in change," she said, her eyes not quite meeting Norah's. "But he's out of diapers. I just started a new job. My first check isn't until Friday. I just need a few to get through." She opened the wallet and placed a mix of crumpled bills and quarters on the counter. The total came to $11.67. The diapers were $20.49. Norah looked at the child. His pants were damp. The mom was trembling. Whether from the cold or from nerves, Norah couldn't tell. Behind her, the office door remained closed, but Norah didn't need to look to know the cameras were recording. Still, she thought of her aunt's words, "You don't let someone drown while you stand on dry land holding a rope." Quietly, Norah tapped a few keys on the register. She applied her own employee discount, then reached under the counter and added a store promo she hadn't used in months. The screen beeped. "Is your pour due?" "You're good," Norah said softly, pushing the bag forward. The woman blinked. "Are you sure?" Norah gave a small smile. Just pay it forward someday. The mother started to crying, not loudly, just a quiet, broken sort of relief. She hugged the toddler closer and nodded. Thank you, she whispered. Then she turned and disappeared into the night. The store was nearly empty when Norah heard the sound she'd been dreading. The click of the office door unlocking. Tina Gresham stepped out, her heels striking the tile with sharp purpose. She didn't say a word at first, just walked to the register and stood across from Norah, watching. You rang that diaper order through at zero, she finally said, her tone even. Norah didn't deny it. She had a baby she couldn't afford. That's not your decision, Tina cut in. You violated policy. We have cameras, we have logs. Norah stood still. I used my employee discount, that's within the system, and the rest was a store coupon we never took down. Tina's lips tightened. Don't insult my intelligence. You know what this is? Theft of goods, company loss, undermining procedure. It was $9, Norah said quietly. It was a choice, Tina replied, ice in her voice. And now here's mine. She reached into her folder and handed over a paper termination notice signed, printed. Final, you're done here, effective immediately. Clean out your things. Norah's chest tightened, not from shock, she'd known this might happen, but from the quiet sadness of seeing decency treated like a mistake. May I at least finish the shift? She asked. Still calm. No, clock out now, Tina replied, and don't touch the register again. Norah removed her name badge slowly, folded her apron neatly. She didn't speak again, just nodded once, and walked out the front doors into the rain, into the cold, without an umbrella, without a job. As the door shut behind her, the only sound left was the distant hum of the cooler and the soft patter of rain against glass. She walked the 3 blocks home in silence, the kind of silence that stings, the kind that forces you to wonder, did it even matter? But Norah didn't regret it, not for a second. The child would sleep dry tonight. That mother wouldn't feel quite so alone, and for Norah, that was still worth something. What secret does the black SUV hold for Norah's future? Discover more on Graceful Valor Stories. It was almost midnight when the knock came. Norah had changed into dry clothes and was sitting at her tiny kitchen table, a cup of lukewarm tea in her hands, staring at the rusted tin marked nursing school. She hadn't cried, not yet. Maybe she would later, maybe not. Some losses didn't need tears, just quiet acceptance. The knock came again, firmer this time. She peeked through the window. A sleek black SUV was parked by the curb, the kind of vehicle that didn't belong in her part of town. Tinted windows, polished grille, chrome wheels. It gleamed under the street lamp like something out of a movie. She hesitated, then opened the door. Standing on the other side was the young mother from earlier, dry now, her hair brushed, her posture straighter. Behind her stood a tall man in a charcoal gray suit, raincoat folded neatly over one arm. His presence filled the doorway. Miss Westfield, he asked, his voice calm, professional. My name is Derek Lawson. May we come in for a moment? Norah blinked, stunned. Yes, of course. She stepped aside. They entered her small apartment. 2 chairs, a second-hand couch, a shelf with nursing textbooks, and a coffee table held together with tape. I wasn't expecting company, she said, embarrassed. You've already done more than you know, Derek said. The young woman stepped forward. I didn't get to say it properly earlier, but thank you for what you did. Norah smiled softly. You don't have to. I understand. Derek spoke again. What you didn't know, Miss Westfield, is that my sister Kayla wasn't just a struggling mom, she was part of a test. Norah froze. A test? He nodded. We're launching a new initiative through our foundation, one designed to identify real-world empathy in frontline workers. No notice, no cameras, just a moment of need and a choice. Kayla added, you didn't hesitate, you didn't ask for anything, you didn't even know who I was, and still, you helped. Norah's mouth was dry. I just did what felt right. That, Derek said, is exactly what we're looking for. He reached into his coat and handed her a sealed envelope. Inside was a formal letter. Embossed header, gold trim, an offer of employment, not retail, not cashier, program coordinator, community outreach division, Grace Initiative Foundation, full salary, medical, relocation assistance, and a full scholarship for nursing school beginning fall semester. Norah stared at the letter, her hands shook. I don't understand. All this for a $9 pack of diapers. Kayla smiled gently. No, for kindness. For courage, Derek nodded, and because the world needs more people like you, in places where it matters. The letter in Norah's hands felt heavier than paper. It was opportunity, it was dignity, and it was hard to believe. She set it down carefully on the kitchen table and looked up at Derek and Kayla. This can't be real, she said, her voice almost a whisper. You're offering me a career because I helped someone I thought I'd never see again. Derek didn't flinch. We've met dozens of store clerks, employees, and staff over the past 2 months. Most followed the rules, some turned their backs. Only a handful showed heart. Even fewer followed through at personal cost. You didn't just lose your job, Kayla added, you did it with quiet grace. That matters more than you know. Norah didn't speak at first. She looked around the small space that had been her world for 3 years, the second-hand bookshelf, the hand-me-down couch, the tin with a few crumpled bills marked nursing school. This life had been built on resilience, on hope. She pressed a hand to her chest and finally said, I never Wanted recognition. I just didn't want her baby to go another night in soaked clothes, that's all it was. Derek smiled. And that's exactly why we want you, he explained the role, helping lead a pilot program called Haven Hubs, community-run markets that offered food, diapers, and essentials to struggling parents at little to no cost. Her job wouldn't be behind a register, it would be designing the system so no one had to beg for basics again. You'll be trained, paid, supported, and while you work, we'll pay for your nursing program. All we ask is that you bring the same heart you brought to that counter. Nora's eyes welled. She didn't have to think long. Yes, she whispered 1,000 times. Yes. Kayla hugged her gently. You didn't know someone was watching, but we were. Nora smiled. I wasn't trying to be seen. That, Derek said, is why you were. 3 months later, the fluorescent lights of Evergrow were a distant memory. Nora now stood beneath the soft glow of hanging lanterns at the Haven Market, a newly opened community hub tucked inside a renovated church building. No uniform, no name tag, just a light blue cardigan and a warm smile. The shelves weren't packed with overpriced goods, they were filled with the things people truly needed: diapers, formula, basic medicine, fresh produce, and a small corner with toys, gently used, books, and handwritten notes left by volunteers. Nora didn't work a register anymore, she greeted families by name, helped single dads find allergy friendly snacks, listened to moms describe the week they'd had. She took notes, she made changes. The front desk hung a small sign, no judgment here, just help, and beneath it, a jar labeled kindness paid forward. People gave what they could, sometimes pennies, sometimes more, and those funds quietly covered the gaps for families who needed an extra loaf of bread or a box of pull-ups. No one had to ask. Nora could always tell. Kayla came by often. Her son, now walking, would run straight to Nora and tug on her sleeve until she picked him up. You're his favorite person, Kayla joked one afternoon. He's mine, too, Nora replied, brushing a crumb from his chin. In her office, just behind the staff break room, Nora had a small corkboard where she pinned photos of customers, progress updates, and one very special item, the receipt from that $9 diaper transaction. Faded but framed, taped next to it was her official nursing school acceptance letter. The future was still uncertain. Life still had its storms, but Nora had found her place in something bigger, something built on compassion, not policies. And every time she handed a box of diapers to a tired parent, she remembered that night, the rain, the decision, and the knock at her door that changed everything. It was just past closing when Derek Lawson returned. He stepped inside Haven Market, quietly, nodding to the volunteers as they stacked the final shelf. Nora looked up from her desk and smiled. You always come when we're mopping, she joked. He held up a coffee cup. Bribery. They sat for a moment in the calm, no crying children, no clattering carts, just the peaceful silence of a place that had done its job. You've helped over 600 families in 10 weeks, Derek said. We've launched 2 more hubs in nearby towns, and they're asking for you to train their teams. Nora looked down at the desk, her framed receipt, her nursing acceptance, her notebook full of names. I used to think $9 couldn't change anyone's life, she said. It didn't, Derek replied. You did. He stood to leave, then paused, and turned back. That woman you helped, Kayla, she finished her GED last month. She's starting job training next week. Nora's throat tightened. She said you gave her more than diapers. He continued, you gave her back her dignity. The door closed softly behind him. Nora sat there a long time alone with the quiet and the soft ticking of the wall clock. She didn't need applause or attention, but she understood now. Sometimes the smallest kindness creates ripples you never get to see, and every time someone asked her why she helped a stranger that night, she'd smile and say, because someone once helped me. If this story moved you, let us know below. We read every comment, and if you haven't yet, hit subscribe. These quiet stories of dignity and kindness deserve to be told and remembered on Graceful Valor Stories.